cannot believe that you left me in this position. I was being so thoughtful, and I was being so considerate, and I came home from work early so that you could leave early and that you were sure to not be late, and you couldn't even fill the prescription for me. And I mean, the anger just grew as the night went on, and he got home late, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I woke up in the morning, and I said, let me tell you what. I could not believe, and I went on my little tirade, but I used nice words because we don't yell. And I said, why did you do that? And he said, Amy, do you think that when I woke up in the morning that I thought, oh, how could I make her day miserable? I know what I'm going to do. Oh yeah, this is going to be good. I am not going to fill that prescription, and I'm going to make her go out in the pouring rain, and I'm going to make her get wet, and she is going to be sick of it, and I'm just going to be laughing, ha ha ha. It worked. And you know, when he put it like that, I thought, shame on me. Shame on me for not asking what happened in his day. And so I said, well, what happened? And he went on to explain that, well, the pool screen guy came over and I had to get the leak fixed, and he didn't show up until such and such a time, and I had already taken the kids to the doctor in the morning, and I was going to be late, so I dropped the prescription off, and I thought, well, if I have time after the pool guy comes, then I'll go back and I'll pick up the prescription. But the pool guy got there late, and then it was too late, and then I realized it was time to leave, and I had to go. You walked in the door, I walked out. I'm sorry for not filling that prescription for you. It wasn't my intent. That episode in my house taught me a lifetime worth of truths. When somebody does something to you that you feel like was purposeful, or they just intentionally did it to hurt you, there is a huge possibility that they had no ill intent in it. And if you will simply believe the best about that other person, then you will begin to see and walk out goodness. You won't get so angry, you won't get so upset, you won't get so hurt, and you'll just be able to take it. Amen. Proverbs 9, 8, and 9. Do not correct a scoffer, lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. Give instructions to a wise man, and he will be still wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. My goal in life is to always be teachable. I want to be somebody who looks at situations and says, how can I grow? How can I be a better wife? That's a great question to ask your husbands. What can I do for you? How can I be a better wife to you? How can I serve you better? How can I grow? Help me in this area. There are people who get so upset when their husband says, or their wife says, go park in that spot, or watch out when you're backing up, I don't want you to hit that car. And, rather than saying, like people say that to me, hey, when you're pulling out of the driveway, make sure the car's parked right behind you. I know it's not usually there, don't hit it. I have seen people get in fights over something like that. Hello, is that really the type of way you want to behave? Do you want to get defensive because somebody's trying to help you not hit the car that is parked right behind you? I tell people all the time when I'm driving and they say, watch out for that car. Please, if you ever see a car coming out, don't ever feel like you can't tell me. Tell me, because I might not see them. I would rather hear it from you than run into that stop sign. Teach me how I can be better. Remind me what I can do, because I want your help. And I see it as help. And then I don't have to get defensive about it. To be teachable is to not be defensive. See, Aspen's inability to receive that correction is the very thing that causes resentment in marriages. Do you know that resentment comes when you're unable to receive in love the things that other person is telling you? That's when resentment starts to build. Landon was only trying to help her. And if you will receive correction, the way that it's intended in most cases is to help and to love. I would rather be married to someone who's far from perfect than to someone but willing to grow than someone who has a lot of potential but never does anything about it. I'm going to say that one more time. I would rather be married to someone who is far from perfect but willing to grow than to someone who has a lot of potential but never does anything with it. Potential is useless if it doesn't get built into something. If you're unwilling to be teachable, all that potential will go to waste. You've got to be teachable. Number 3, how can you create a healthy and an enjoyable atmosphere in your home where change can take place? What kind of a woman does it take? How do you model love in those relationships? Number 3, this type of woman is kind at all times. I said that this is one of the things that I tell my kids to look for in a spouse. Someone who is kind at all times. And you know, I think the word nice gets a bad rap because I hear a lot of times women, and I really don't get this, but they say, well, he's too nice. And I think, in 10 years, you are not going to think he is too nice. Go for the nice guy. Why do we want to go for these people who are just, difficult and hard to get along with, or maybe we think they're cool and untouchable and they don't know how to show us affection, they don't know how to give us love, but they're nice. Somebody else is nice, and we don't prize that. A person who is kind at all times will be kind to you when they're angry with you. A woman who is kind to everybody will be kind when you're having a bad day. After you've been married for 20 years and you don't feel like being kind. We've got to be kind to everyone. Are you kind to your spouse? Are you kind to everybody, no matter how they treat you? The definition of kind is this: having or showing a friendly, generous, and considerate nature. So I ask you, do you consider the other people in your life in every situation? Do you consider them in the small and practical ways? Do you give your husband the better cut of steak? Do you watch the movie that your best friend wants to see rather than the one you want to see? Do you think of other people when they're going through difficult times? Do you set aside time to spend with them, to meet with them, to bake them something, to take them something? Do you consider the people in your life? There's a lot of synonyms for kind. And I know it may seem a little simple, but I think that we're missing some of these things in our life because we walk into church with this happy smile on our face and we're kind to everybody we meet, and the pastor says turn around and greet somebody and you reach out your hand and you smile and you love on them a little bit right there, but then behind closed doors, are you kind to the people that are closest to you? Unfortunately, we treat the people we love the most, the worst, most of the time. Would you want the pastor to see you treating your loved one the way you treat them? Would you want Jesus to see you treating his child that way? Because he's watching you, and we are all God's kids, and that person that's irritating you, he's God's son. She's God's daughter. We've got to be kind to the people in our life. So what does it mean to be kind? To be kind is to be good-natured, to be warm-hearted, to be caring. To be kind is to be affectionate. Do you give the cold shoulder to him? Warm, considerate, helpful, thoughtful, obliging. Kind is to be unselfish or selfless, to be attentive. When somebody's talking to you, are you listening to what they're saying to you? Are you just trying to think of what you can say next or how you can retaliate? Are you attentive to what they're saying? Do you have ears to hear? Do you have compassion? Because to have kindness is to have compassion. And if you're able to put yourself in that person's shoes, would you still be so angry? Would you still be so upset? That's something that I'm actually pretty good at, is empathy. I have this innate, God-given ability to be able to put myself in somebody else's shoes. And I can picture myself in their shoes, and then any anger or animosity or jealousy or any other foul thing that wants to come up, the moment that I will step out of my shoes and step into their shoes for just a moment, all of that other stuff is gone. When you are able to empathize with other people and to have compassion for them. To be kind is to be understanding. Don't we all want to be understood? When you get in an argument with somebody, you don't necessarily even, at least I used to like to be right all the time. I've come past that place. I don't have to be right all the time, but what I want to be is understood. I want to be understood. If you're going to tell me you're sorry, don't just tell me that you're sorry. but tell me why you're sorry. Let me know that you understand how you hurt my feelings. Do you give other people that same effort? Are you trying to understand where they're coming from, even if it doesn't make sense to you? Big-hearted, benevolent, friendly, neighborly, hospitable, well-meaning. You know, I was running up my street the other day, taking the kids to the park. It was actually a couple of months ago with one of my good friends who lives in Orlando. And every car that drove by, I just waved to. And I waved to her, and then I waved, and then I waved. And she's like, do you know these people? And I'm like, no, I don't know those people. She's like, you're just waving to them? I'm like, absolutely. This is a small town. If I was in a big city, I'd wave to them too, and they'd probably think I was really weird there. But I mean, are you friendly? Are you just kind to people? Are you just friendly, warm-hearted? A kind person is one who is easy to be around. See, I believe that Jesus' kindness is what drew people to him. He was gentle and easy to get along with. Are you a woman who's easy to get along with? Or do people feel like they have to walk on eggshells when you're around, not knowing what they're going to get? Matthew 11:28 through 30. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden and overburdened, and I will cause you to rest. I will ease and relieve and refresh your souls. Take my yoke upon me and learn of me, for I am gentle, meek, and humble, lowly in heart, and you will find rest, relief and ease and refreshment and recreation and blessed quietness for your souls. For my yoke is wholesome, useful, good, not hard, not harsh, not sharp, not pressing, but comfortable and gracious and pleasant, and my burden is light and easy to be borne. This is Jesus we're talking about, but I believe that it tells us what we women need to be in our lives in order to look like Jesus. Are you easy to be around? When people come around you, do they leave feeling refreshed? Or do you drain every ounce of goodness that they had in them with all of your problems? Do you constantly point out the negative? Are you constantly pulling something from them? Or are you the type of person who is refreshing, who's easy to be around? Huge. Number 4, she is easily amused and lighthearted. So how can you create a healthy environment where change can take place in your home? You can start by being easily amused and lighthearted. Nehemiah 8:10 says, do not sorrow, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. You need to get this strength in order to get through the tough times. There is no way to have strength if you do not have joy. And let me tell you, you cannot make an unhappy person happy. No matter how hard you try, happiness comes from within. Joy comes from within. And if you're an unhappy person, no matter what he or she does to you, you will never, ever have joy. Because joy is something that is a choice, and joy is something that comes from within, and you have to choose to be joyful. Now, this may sound silly, but I really believe that this is one of the most important qualities that you can have in a relationship. That you can be in a person is to be lighthearted and easily amused. And you say, well, that's just not my personality. You know, it's just not my personality. Well, you can make it your personality. And I know because I've seen it happen in my household. I've realized, because I grew up in kind of a serious home, and there was a whole lot of peace in my home, but it wasn't especially a joyful home. But, you know, then I began to pray as I began to give my heart to the Lord, and I thought, God, I'm missing joy in my life. I want to have this joy. And so I started praying that God would bring me a child, that when I got married, that I would have a child that would just bring laughter into my life. And then I married Landon, who is pretty funny. And what I've learned from being married to him is that humor is a learned behavior. He is on the lookout for funny things. And when he hears something funny, baby, you better believe he repeats it over and over and over and over again. Over and over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, my son has learned this trait because my in-laws were home. They were in town over at the end of February. And I came home, and we were getting ready to have a birthday party for my son, so we're going to have a lot of people over that evening, and my bed was made, though incorrectly. So I walked into the bedroom,